Another news now, tech experts have identified a new security vulnerability called the bash or the shell shock bug. This is threatening to affect computer operating systems powered by Linux and Apple's Mac. The bug has the potential to affect millions of devices that are connected to the internet using Linux-based operating systems. If the flaw is exploited, hackers could in principle take complete control of a PC remotely, allowing them to destroy data, to shut down networks and even launch attacks on websites.
What we are more likely to see is attackers getting into these machines and stealing information. So that might affect ordinary people by having their credit card stolen or their password stolen or private information that you could be hosting on websites stolen.
US government experts have rated the bug a 10 out of 10 on its vulnerability severity scale. And joining me now in the studio is David Siah. He's the country manager of Trend Micro Incorporated, a cloud security company that develops internet content security and threat management solutions. Right. I wasn't that terrified until I just read what I read and heard what I heard. 10 out of 10 on a vulnerability scale, hacking into passwords. Which computer users will be most affected, do you think?
Well, I think that because this vulnerability is so prevalent, and because many people uses this particular software that has this vulnerability.
You mean Linux?
Right? Yeah, Linux, right? And this would actually affect the bulk of web users as well, because a lot of the web servers today are powered by this operating system.
And in other words, if I wanted to check whether on this computer right now, do I have shell shock? Can you do an immediate check for me?
Right. I mean, there are tools that would allow you to check what version, right, of the web server, right, the server is running as well. But the best thing is to check with the IT administrator, because they would have, better understanding, right, of the severity, the scale, and what are some of the operating systems that you're running in the background.
Oh, you mentioned the fact that it's tied to Linux and that it means that for the longest time, Apple computer users, Mac users have been quite complacent and happy. They say, well, no point buying an antivirus system. The Mac is no problems with the Mac. But this is the first time we're seeing there might be problems. Right.
I think that's what probably a lot of people define as security to obscurity, because you're using something that is not so that's not so widespread use, right? You assume that you have some degree of security. But in actual fact, right, today computer systems actually leverage a lot of source codes from each other. So what it means is that a base operating system or a base source code such as bash, for example, right, would affect a lot of different operating systems. Even Mac OS X is not, not immune, right, to something like this.
To be entirely selfish here, is a Mac user right now as vulnerable as a non-Mac user to this particular bug?
And in my opinion, I think everybody is equally vulnerable, right? And what we do need is to make sure that we update our systems properly and update our systems in a timely fashion.
And would an update alone be enough to fix this problem? Should we have it?
Yes, it is. It's actually a very simple issue, right? You mentioned that it was rated 10 out of 10 in the severity scale. We assess that it's rated 10 out of 10 mainly because it's widespread. It's easy to exploit. But on the other hand, because it's easy to exploit and so widespread, it's also very easy to patch or very easy to update.
Easy to exploit, you mean it's easy for people who want to hack to get into it, or what do you mean easy to exploit?
All right, so relatively, it's easy for you to, easy for a threat actor, for example, to get control of a web server. That's the server that powers all the websites, right? And change the contents, right, of that web page, like defacement, for example, or maybe to a more extreme case, right, run a remote code to actually steal customer data, or even maybe for something more persistent, what we call a persistent threat, right, to actually stage yourself, right, for future attacks. That means get yourself into the door first, right?
Okay. Now, we're hearing this is the first major internet threat to emerge since the discovery in April of Heartbleed. Yeah. I'm wondering, selfishly again, this trend of bugs appearing every few months, is this something that is becoming easier for people to do, and that's why we're going to be seeing more of this.
Right. I guess it's also because, we are using IT in more ways than we used to be. So actually, we have what we call Internet of Everything today, right? We are not just using it, for surfing the web, for doing our electronic transactions. We are also using it to power a lot of our home devices as well. So naturally, I think, today, the complexity of software programming actually, it would result in a lot of what we call buggy systems, right? And these buggy systems sometimes would have vulnerabilities that allow threat actors to exploit, to do something bad, right? Like in this case, right? It allows them, very alarmingly, right, to exploit and actually execute codes or execute any command on your computer.
Right, that's very alarming indeed. David, explain to us what we should be looking out for with this new shell shock bug. Apparently, if we update our systems, we are all in the clear. That was David Siah from Trend Micro Singapore. And coming up after